Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy. And in today's video, I'm going to be doing a 8-team PPR mock draft from the 4th overall spot on Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard. This will likely be the last 8-team mock draft. We only have a couple of days left until it is Monday, and that is going to be the first day of in-season content. There's likely not going to be any more draft content after then, since I feel like everyone's drafts pretty much reside after or before Labor Day Monday. Labor Day Monday is typically one of the biggest draft weekends that weekend, so I assume most people are not going to be drafting after that, and if you are, the videos from the past will definitely still be able to suffice to help you for that. So 8-team mock draft from the 4th overall spot. This is a PPR league, like I said. So before I get into the video, I'd like to ask you guys, do end up enjoying this video, to please hit that subscribe button down below. It's free. I put out content every single day to help you guys win that 2020 Fantasy Football Championship. So without further ado, let's check out the draft. And also, if you guys need some additional information to help you win your draft, please check out the draft guide on Patreon. This draft is 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wideouts, a tight end, flex, kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots. I would actually recommend that if you guys are the commissioner of an 8-team league, to up the flexes to at least or more than 1. So I'd say either 2 or 3 flexes to really make the league feel a lot bigger than an 8-team league. It takes a lot of players out of the pool and makes the draft overall much harder, as well as winning overall in the season. Or you can make it super flex as well, but that's not what we're doing here. We're just doing a normal draft on Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard. We're going to go up against Yahoo's pre-draft rankings in today's mock. So let's get right into it now. We're going to click Start Draft. And then, obviously, we are right in the middle of the draft. We are smack dab at the 4 spot, which is actually a position that I don't hate. There's really no bad positions, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, in an 8-team league. It can really go either way there, considering there's not too much kind of separation between each pick. It's not as bad as like in a 12-team league, where if you're picking at 1, it takes a zillion years to get back to the number 1 pick. If you're drafting number 1 in an 8-team league, you're coming back around much faster, so your team could obviously be much more stacked if you're looking for the robust running back strategy of drafting a bunch of running backs early in your draft. So looking at the draft board, is on the right side of your screen here. I will end up moving myself as well as the draft board onto your screen here, so I'm going to lift myself up all the way to the top and open up the draft board here so that you guys can see a better idea of how the draft is actually going on around us here before we go ahead and make our pick. So looking at the draft board, Christian McCaffrey followed by Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel Elliott ended up coming off the board before our first overall selection here. So right here, to me, there's an insta-lock pick here. I am not worried about Kamara holding out or anything. I think they do reach an agreement relatively soon, so I will draft Alvin Kamara happily at the 104 spot. Now, if you are concerned, if you're personally concerned, and you're not going based off of my opinion, because I could be wrong, he could hold out, but if you're scared, right here, to me, this is either Derrick Henry or Joe Mixon. If you want to be super safe, go Derrick Henry. If you're feeling a little bit more risky, go Joe Mixon. I love both of those players, but personally, I'm going to go with Alvin Kamara here. This offense is so good, and they need Alvin Kamara to win. I don't know why they would let go of Alvin Kamara, why they would trade him if they are trying to win this year. This is likely the last year Drew Brees steps on a football field, so once he leaves, it's going to be much harder for the win, so they have to be all in this year, all the shit to the middle, all the chips to the middle. They have to win this season, so I believe that they will give Alvin Kamara the money to do so in this season. After we drafted Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry came out the board, followed by CEH, Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams, Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, and Tyreek Hill. While my strategy is typically, in normal leagues, this is an 8-team league, so my strategy is a bit different, is to load up on the running back position, but in an 8-team league, I really see a huge positional advantage at the tight end position in these kind of leagues. Everyone's going to have stacked running backs, everyone's going to have stacked wide receivers, everyone's going to have a good quarterback, but what not everyone will be able to have is a good tight end, because the tight end position is very top heavy. If you don't draft one of those top couple of guys, I believe that you are behind the 8 ball in an 8-team league. So I personally go ahead and target a guy like Kelsey, Kittle, or Andrews much higher in these drafts. I weigh their value much higher, so I actually like to draft them, whereas in 10, 12-team leagues, I'm not someone who's super bullish on making sure I get one of those top 3 tight ends on my team, even though some people are like that. But here, I think we can wait one more round on the tight end. I just feel like there will be one there at the 304 for us, so I'm going to go ahead here and draft a running back. I want to have the star-studded running back backs onto my team to be the anchor of this roster in 10-team leagues, in 12-team leagues. The wide receiver position is so deep, so in an 8-team league, it's even deeper. It's even easier to find one of those studs that could potentially finish as a wide receiver 1 on the year in like the 5th, 6th, 7th round. So if you just draft a couple of running backs earlier, you can hammer those middle round wide receivers that all have a shit ton of potential, considering the names coming off the board there later. Guys like Calvin Ridley, DJ Chark, Terry McLaurin, all going later, and all, in my opinion, have top 12 upside in fantasy football on the season. But here we're going to go ahead and select running back Austin Eckler. I personally would not be against someone going with Sanders, Drake, or Jacobs there. My two favorite picks here would be Eckler or Jacobs. I just feel like both guys are going to be super involved in their given offense. It's really a pick 'em at that spot. I think Austin Eckler has the potential, though, to get over 2,000 combined yards. He's going to be getting the receiving work. He's going to be getting the rushing work, and he is going to be a workhorse running back. We saw last season when Melvin Gordon was chilling in Cabo, drinking some Corona. Austin Eckler was balling out. Meanwhile, Melvin Gordon's just out there doing nothing, obviously, because he wasn't playing. And then once Melvin Gordon came back, it kind of sucked Austin Eckler's point total down, but he still played well. But obviously, there's no Melvin Gordon now. His ass is in Denver trying to suck in that hard air up there. So now we're going to go ahead and go with Austin Eckler here at this pick. But like I said, you could really go any way at the running back position at that slot. So after we went ahead and went with Austin Eckler, Julio Jones came out the board, followed by George Kittle, Kenyon Drake. Now we got to open up the draft board because it went a little too fast. Julio Jones, George Kittle, Kenyon Drake, DeAndre Hopkins, Josh Jacobs, and Travis Kelce. So the big two tight ends did come off the board. So right here is where we have to make the decision. Will Mark Andrews fall to us in the 4th round? Do I believe any of these teams will take a tight end before I can get him? So we're going to look at the overall. This is something important to do when you're in your draft. Open up the all tab and see what people are looking towards at the top. Mark Andrews is all the way down here at 36. So I don't think anyone is going to be looking at him realistically in the picks before our pick. The next 9 picks I don't think will involve a tight end. So I'm going to go ahead here and go either running back or wide receiver. Looking at the given board, I feel like the running backs really fall off after the tier 3 that's on your screen, not necessarily my tier 3, but the guys on your screen, Miles Sanders and Aaron Jones, if they go, obviously, between our pick and the next pick, which is highly likely because in 8-team leagues, the running backs go pretty much in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round. And then it starts to become a wide receiver train. We haven't seen the wide receiver train come, obviously, yet because Godwin, Allen Robinson, Kenny Golladay, all still available. So here, we're going to load up on our 3rd running back. We're going to have Kamara, Eckler, and one of these guys. So it's a pick 'em here as well. I think you can go either way between Miles Sanders and Aaron Jones. Personally, I am a huge fan of both of these players. I'm a big fan of Miles Sanders' talent. I am worried about the situation now. Obviously, Leonard Fournette did not end up going there. So it seems like Miles Sanders is going to be the workhorse back there. He finally did it. Doug Peterson may actually not use a running back by committee for once. He's done it his whole goddamn coaching career, but this could be the year that it changes. So I'm going to buy into that and hope that Miles Sanders is good to go for week 1 and draft Mr. Booby Miles at the 3rd round pick and pray to the fantasy football lords that Mark Andrews ends up falling to us at our pick, and he does end up doing just that. So looking at the draft board after we went ahead and took Mr. Miles Sanders, we can see Aaron Jones came off the board, followed by Allen Robinson, James Conner, Chris Godwin, Adam Thielen, Kenny Golladay, Pat Mahomes, and Mike Evans. So we saw the first quarterback come off the board inside of the 4th round. Not all that surprising, in my opinion, considering Lamar and Pat Mahomes in 12-team leagues typically go in the 2nd and 3rd round. This is an 8-team league, more condensed, obviously. So the 4th round will probably be where you see Pat Mahomes come off the board and Lamar Jackson in a lot of leagues. It varies in every league who goes first, Mahomes or Lamar Jackson. I personally like Mahomes first, but I won't argue anyone if they want to pick Lamar Jackson ahead of him. Same thing goes with Kittle and Kelce. I prefer Kelce, but some people may prefer Kittle, but I'm not going to get into an argument about that as well. I personally just think it's splitting hairs to me. So, like I said, the first couple rounds really heavily dominated by running backs, and here is where we are going to see the wide receiver train come in the 4th, 5th, and 6th round. Since all the good running backs, or all the safer kind of running backs, are pretty much gone, the only one still available is actually no one. This is where it starts to become a barren goddamn hellhole here. Probably the safest pick here is Chris Carson if you want to go running back, but we already got our 3 running backs, 2 in our running back position, 1 in our flex. So we are going to be snagging tight end Mr. Mark Andrews of the Baltimore Ravens. So the reason why I'm going with Mark Andrews, like I said earlier, is my feeling on the tight end value just being much more important in this kind of league, in an 8-team league, in a smaller league. I feel very confident with Mark Andrews finishing as a top 3 tight end. I personally can even see him finishing as the number 1 tight end when the year comes to a close. So I think that it is a very safe pick here in the 4th round. I have a tight end that was very good last season in Baltimore, and I expect to get even more receptions this season. Maybe his touchdown total does go slightly down, but at the end of the day, I believe that he is still going to be very good good this season, so I will happily pick him there. Now, had Lamar Jackson have fallen into the 5th round, I would have picked him there. I'm going to be honest with you. I am not someone who likes to pick quarterbacks early at all, but getting the stack of the quarterback and the tight end in an 8-team league may just result in being one of the most winning strategies in an 8-team league. Maybe getting Mahomes and getting Kittle at the 2-3 turn. Maybe maybe I could have drafted Lamar first and then gotten Mark Andrews. I don't know. Maybe that's what could have happened, but this is the way I judge the draft because I feel like the tight end position is more important, so I'd much rather have gotten Mark Andrews than have picked Lamar Jackson and then Mark Andrews not have came back my way. So after we went with Mark Andrews, Chris Carson came off the board, followed by Lamar Jackson, DJ Moore, AJ Brown, Odell Beckham Jr., and Juju Smith-Schuster. So the last 2 rounds right here, heavily dominated by the wide receiver position. So now we're going to dip our toes into the wide receiver position. We already got our tight end. We already got 3 running backs. And now it's time to fire the goddamn cannons at the wide receiver position. So if you guys have made it this far, we're 5 rounds deep, and you have enjoyed thus far, you had a nice chuckle, you had a fun time, you gained some information, some straight up knowledge, make sure to click that subscribe button. It's free, and I put out content every single day to help you guys win that 2020 Fantasy Football Championship. So here we're going to go ahead and draft a wide receiver. Wide receiver still on the board: Robert Woods, Amari Cooper, Cooper Kupp, Calvin Ridley. A couple names I like, a couple of names I don't like. Actually, the only name I don't like is Amari Cooper. That guy's going to finish as a top 15 wide receiver, no doubt, in my opinion. But the problem with him is his inconsistency. He'll have games where he balls out against one of the best defenses, right? Next game, plays like shit against one of the worst defenses, and then plays like shit again, and then shit again, and then shit again, and then he plays amazing. It's very confusing with him. There's no rhyme or reason to this guy's madness, to his point total, and now they bring in CeeDee Lamb to the Dallas Cowboys, another cook in the kitchen. There's 3 guys there, 3 wide receivers that could potentially be the wide receiver 1 in fantasy football from their team. So I'm just not going to draft Amari Cooper. I'd much rather wait on Gallup, much rather wait on CeeDee Lamb, and I just don't feel confident drafting a guy with so much inconsistency, with them bringing in another guy that could add to that inconsistency. So to me, I love Cooper. I love Cooper Kupp, and I love Robert Woods here. I personally have Robert Woods now ranked above Cooper Kupp. I know you might be thinking, Nick, that's foolish. Why would you rank the guy who's not necessarily the wide receiver 1 on the team as the wide receiver 1? Because I believe that Cooper Kupp is going to be good. But I think Robert Woods, what we saw deep down the stretch of the season was when they committed to the 2 tight end set, we saw Robert Woods absolutely eat like his name was Ezekiel Elliott. We saw the team be more looking to throw the ball to Robert Woods. We saw him finish inside of the top 5 in points per game down the stretch of the season after their bye week. You can look it up. Robert Woods was fantastic. Cooper Kupp was not playing as well. I think Cooper Kupp will obviously have a good season. I just got Robert Woods ranked higher, so I'm going to go ahead and play based off of my rankings and draft Mr. Bobby Trees as my 5th round selection. So after we went with Bobby Trees here, now we have 1 wide receiver, so we're probably going to hop back onto the horse and draft another wide receiver here inside of the 6th round. I just feel like we need to fill out that position before we start hammering the running backs, unless I feel like there's really strong value at the running back position, but I just don't think there will be. After we went with Mr. Bobby Trees, Terry McLaurin came off the board, followed by Melvin Gordon, Cooper Kupp, Jonathan Taylor, Zach Ertz, Tyler Higbee, Amari Cooper, and Dak Prescott. We saw a kind of a 1-round lull between Pat Mahomes and Dak Prescott. In some leagues, you're going to see both the big 2 quarterbacks come off the board, and then out of nowhere, Dak, Russ, Deshaun, one of those guys will go, and then a million quarterbacks will go in a row. In other leagues, there may be a couple round wait before Dak Prescott or the next guy, the quarterback 3, whatever that is on your rankings, comes off the board. Now, we also saw after we went with Andrews, there was kind of a wait until Zach Ertz and Tyler Higbee. In some leagues, Andrews and Zach Ertz are synonymous. They kind of go in the same round. It's kind of like Kittle and Kelsey are stuck together. Andrews and Ertz are stuck together. But in my opinion, Andrews is just so much on another level than Ertz that I don't really understand that. And now there's reports of a contract dispute for Zach Ertz. No goddamn bueno for me. If there's a contract dispute, I don't know. I just would not feel super comfortable right now learning about that, and I didn't even feel super comfortable drafting him. Now, I'm sure he'll play. I'm sure he'll be fine, but that's just not something you want to hear a couple of days out from the season beginning. So now here, we are going to keep loading up on the running back and wide receiver train here. The running backs, like I said, not ultra confident in any of these guys. Leonard Fournette now spotting at running back number 23 on these rankings. Not too surprising, but I'm not really drafting him at that price. Maybe I would, but I would understand that if I draft him, he has to be a bench player. It's going to take a couple of weeks for him to get comfortable because Tom Brady doesn't throw the ball to you if you're not comfortable. He just simply does not do that. And a lot of Leonard Fournette's points last year came from heavy targets. Now, what happens? I made a video about this. I think it's going to be a split. I think they're going to be kind of a split down the middle, but eventually I think Leonard Fournette gets more and more touches and is actually fantasy relevant. But for the beginning of the season, I don't think that is so, considering we're just so close to kickoff on Sunday, just 1 week from now. like a week and 2 days, I guess, from now for the kickoff of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I don't think I would draft him hoping he would be like a running back one, like I think he could have been in Jacksonville. So we're hopping on the wide receiver train. Calvin Ridley, DJ Chark, Tyler Lockett, Keenan Allen, Cortland Sutton, DK Metcalf, Devontae Parker, all still available. There's one guy that to me is an insta pick here, and he's at the top of the screen. It's Calvin Ridley of the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons were the most pass-heavy team in the NFL in 2019. I believe they can return and be the kings again of throwing the ball a million goddamn times. Dan Quinn, head coach, offensive coordinator Dirk Cutter just love to throw the goddamn ball. Matt Ryan loves to do it as well. And we saw Calvin Ridley's point per game total really increase once Mohamed Sanu ended up being the worst trade I've ever seen. They got a second-round pick for that guy who was an absolute dumpster fire in New England and ended up getting cut yesterday. So Calvin Ridley is going to be an amazing pick this year. I see a whole lot of upside from him. I could see him finishing inside of the top 12 as well, potentially up there with Mr. Bobby Trees, who we ended up drafting last round. Now it's time to fill out our bench here. I'm not going to go ahead and reach up and go quarterback just yet. After we went with Calvin Ridley, we see Tyler Lockett, DJ Chark, Russell Wilson, Mark Ingram, Cortland Sutton, and Kyler Murray. So people may have gotten a bit scared at the quarterback position drafting after Dak. They went Russ and Kyler Murray. Maybe we see more of a quarterback run in the 7th and 8th round, but the runs don't happen as much in an 8-team league, considering there's just not that many people that are going to get scared of a quarterback because you're still probably going to get a top 8 one, so you really shouldn't be all that concerned at all. But hey, it does end up happening, and there is some people who will draft multiple quarterbacks in your league, so you definitely have to watch out for that later. So now we're going to fill out our bench here. I'm not going quarterbacks. We're either going running back or wide receiver with these next few picks. So here it is kind of I'm going to look at the draft board and see what the other guys around me might be thinking before I decide what position I want. So down here, this guy is 2 running backs because we're coming back this way. 2 running backs, 3, 2, and 2. So it's likely that they are going to take at least 1 running back. So I'm thinking I have to go running back here. I'm thinking that people aren't going to be loading up too much on wide receivers since you really need more running backs than wide receivers in your draft. That's just a good rule of thumb because it's pretty easy to a couple weeks into the season just find some random-ass wide receiver off the waiver wire that you thought was absolutely booty cheeks that just turns out to be the second coming of Jesus Christ, and you pick that guy up off the waiver wire and slot him straight into your lineup. You're going to be able to do that. Whereas at running back, it takes injuries for those things to occur. So that's why I really like to heavily load up on my running backs in my draft. So we're going to go running back here. This is kind of the death zone at the running back position, but I feel like if we get one of these guys and then we kind of go back to the wide receivers, if I feel like there's a lot of value there, we're going to feel just fine at a running back position, considering we probably won't have to start any of these guys unless an injury happens or until a bye week. So we're going to load up on a guy that is kind of risky here. Now, I don't think we actually need to take the risk here, so we'll probably go with more of a safe pick here and go with Le'Veon Bell of the New York Football Giants. Now, Todd Gurley is probably the player. Todd Gurley, Bell, and Johnson are the 3 guys that have the fantasy community tore in half. Some people love these guys. Some people are, but they don't love all of them. Most people don't love all of them. They either like one guy or they completely fucking hate him. There's no in the middle. No one's meeting in the middle and thinking, you know what, I'll take him in some leagues, I'll fade him in the other. I hate Todd Gurley. I think he's going to get hurt, and I think if they give him a lot of touches, he's going to get hurt, and I don't think he's going to be getting a lot of touches because they throw the ball so much. So he's out of the door for me, off my board. David Johnson, injury prone. That's a concern. But when he plays, he's good, so he's on my board. Le'Veon Bell played like absolute dog doo-doo last season, absolutely completely fucked over people's teams. So people are completely out on him based off of the fact that he screwed them over last year. So where do I stand on him? I'm in the middle. I do kind of like Le'Veon Bell. I honestly think he could be good for the Jets. I think a lot of people are talking Le'Veon Bell down because of how shit he did last year, but how could the guy do worse than last year and he still finished as a top 12 running back, finished as I believe running back 17, so a top 20 guy that I'm finding in the 7th round. I'll happily draft him with the upside that he becomes fucking Le'Veon Bell from the Steelers a couple of years and tears it up, which is going to obviously be harder due to not having as good of an offensive line, considering the Steelers line in the past with Le'Veon Bell was a goddamn brick wall. So I like Le'Veon Bell here in the 7th round. I think he was the safest out of those and the guy I could see producing the most overall total fantasy football points of those players. Now we are on to the 8th round of the draft. Looking at the board available, after Le'Veon Bell, DK Metcalf came off the board, followed by Todd Gurley, Raheem Mostert, David Johnson, Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift, Keenan Allen, and T.Y. Hilton. So just as predicted, mental strength, right there. Mental intelligence. We figured out. We sniffed it out. We went, and we found the fact that the running backs were going to get taken, and we were right. We made the correct move. So now at wide receiver here, we're looking at, it's a bit sus here. Devontae Parker. Now, I'm a Dolphins fan. I'm wearing a Dolphins hat right now with the old logo, the best logo the Dolphins have. And I'm not the biggest fan of Devontae Parker. Now, my worries are the schedule. For starters, the schedule is completely dick cheese for the first 5 weeks. You're not going to be able to start him. You simply cannot start him the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season. And then there's the worry that Preston Williams last year tore it up, whereas when Fitzmagic was playing, obviously, Preston Williams tearing it up. Then he gets hurt, and then we see the emergence of Parker and Gesicki. So, am I concerned? Yes. What happens when Tua plays? It all goes out the fucking window. It gets thrown out the window, launched out the window, yeet. Like, you have no idea what's going to happen because Tua might just like to throw the ball to only Gesicki. He might like to only throw the ball to Preston Williams. He might only like Devontae Parker. So, it's like a coin flip at that point. So, I'd much rather go ahead and kind of stay away from him, but I haven't drafted him in very many leagues. I advise that you guys kind of diversify your teams in certain leagues. So, I'm going to go with them. I'm not completely sold out on him, so I will draft him. I'm just not as completely bought in as a lot of other fantasy football players. So let me know down below what you guys think about Mr. DP Devontae Parker in the 8th round of an 8-team league, or overall how you feel about him and where you would want to draft him in your kind of league setting. So now we are into the 9th round, and the 9th round recap is brought to you guys by my friends and my sponsor over at manscaped.com. If you want to have the nicest smelling balls in your league, let me tell you, they have ball deodorant on there. That thing makes it smell a goddamn one like the steak sauce. You can also shave down there, and it will look beautiful. Get that Lawnmower 3.0. Get it all. Everything on there is amazing. I have it all. I've used it all, and let me tell you, it is amazing. It is like drafting that late round sleeper in your draft. You find it. It's nice and cheap because the products are relatively cheaply priced on there, and you get an amazing product at a cheap price. So make sure you check that shit out. Manscaped.com. Promo code Notorious at checkout for 20% off, as well as free shipping. So now I'm going to break down the 9th round since it was brought to you by my friends at Manscaped. I really appreciate them. So, Kareem Hunt came off the board, followed by Ronald Jones, Hollywood Brown, Michael Gallup, Stephon Diggs, and Jordan Howard. So now the running backs are kind of flying off the board. We see Rojo come in the 8th round. We have not seen Leonard Fournette come off the board. Now, in my opinion, Fournette will get drafted higher than Rojo. He just will. They're both guys that you're taking a shot on. I think Rojo to start the season will be better, but I think Fournette to end the season will be better. But I don't know, man. It's going to be so confusing. It might just be a fucking full-on committee all year, and you're going to be pissed that you drafted any of them. That's obviously 100% something that could happen as well, because Bruce Arians, as we know, this guy's number one at lying. He literally said the other day that this is Ronald Jones' backfield, right? And then they trade for Leonard Fournette, and you know what he says again? This is Ronald Jones' backfield. I don't believe it one bit. Bruce Arians is a notorious liar. This guy is king of saying some shit and doing the complete opposite. So I wouldn't really believe him. But here we are looking wide receiver. I'm not going to go Fournette. I want to snag my boy Tyler, Boyd of the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, I could also argue you going Jarvis Landry here. I like Jarvis Juice Landry here, even though I'm very committed to the fact that the Cleveland Browns are going to run the ball gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream. Hopefully I didn't get copyrighted for that beautiful singing of row, row, row your boat. But Kevin Stefanski loves to run the rock. This guy is addicted to it. He watches it every night. He gets the Jergens out for it. He does everything to run the ball. Top 4 in run percentage last season in Minnesota. Now he's the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. They're going to run the ball. Why wouldn't you run the ball if you have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt? It just makes complete sense that they'd run the ball. So, my opinion is Jarvis Landry is going to be good, but I like Tyler Boyd. I'm so sold in on Tyler Boyd. Reports out of camp are him and Joe Burrow are having a fucking love affair on the goddamn field. He's throwing the ball to him. He's catching it. And after they have a nice makeout. Maybe they don't do that. They probably don't do that. But what I'm saying is that this is a match made in heaven for fantasy football, and Tyler Boyd is going to be magnifique this season in Cincinnati. I believe that he tears it up again. Over 1,000 yards last year, over 1,000 yards the years before, and I think this is his year where he steps up big and potentially gets over 1,200 yards, scores a bunch of touchdowns, and takes the Cincinnati Bengals to win 4 or 5 goddamn games. So I love Tyler Boyd, and I'm going to be drafting him in a lot of leagues, and I'm fading his teammate A.J. Green because that guy just loves to be injured. Haha. That was funny. I don't know. It actually might not have been all that funny, but I hope you guys have been enjoying thus far. Please subscribe if you have enjoyed. It would really mean a whole lot to me. We're nearing up on my goal, 6,000 1,000 subscribers. So after I drafted Tyler Boyd, Will Fuller came out the board, followed by Jarvis Juice Landry, AJ Green, J.K. Dobbins. After Dobbins, the 10th round begins with Deshaun Watson, Matt Ryan, Deontay Johnson, and Marvin Jones. So the quarterbacks really did go spread out in this draft. I think every team aside from me has one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So every team has one besides me. So I'm stuck with Josh Allen. So I'm not going to pick him here. Everyone already made their pick. They're not going to pick another one anywhere near soon. So there's no reason to pick one. That's something you have to understand in your draft. If everyone has a quarterback, you can probably wait a round or two before a brigade of other people start just snagging up another one. Because inevitably in a lot of leagues, people are going to draft 2 quarterbacks. People might draft 2 defenses. They might draft 2 kickers. It's just how leagues go. So now we're going to go ahead and load up on some running backs. And he fell to us. It's Leonard Fournette. But I'm not going to pick him here. I'm just not going to. I don't know if I like him above these other players. And I'm really bought in on James White. I'm so sold on James White being good this year. I'm sold on him potentially being a top 12 running back. I'm sold on Cam Newton dumping the ball down James White's throat, force-feeding him the rock, and it flying straight to him all the time. He did it with Tampa Bay, Tom Brady. He can do it with Cam Newton. Wham, bam, Cam Newton. And James White is a focal point in this offense. With the other running backs, very unclear who's going to be the starter. I think James White is going to be the stud of this offense. I will happily draft him so many times in the middle of my draft, obviously much later in an 8-team league. He's a certified steal inside of the 10th round. So after we went James White, Julian Edelman came off the board, followed by Matt Breida, Jameson Crowder, David Johnson, Darius Slayton, and Devin Singletary. So no one wants Leonard Fournette. I would not be surprised at all if this happened in a lot of leagues. I really would not be, because Leonard Fournette is not a sexy pick anymore. And a lot of people, he's either going to get drafted way too high in your league, I feel, or just get drafted really late. I don't think it's going to be any in between. I feel like either people are going to be like, holy shit, he's on Tampa Bay, boom, and snag him in like the 6th round, or people are going to be like, oh shit, I don't want anything to do with him. They're going to keep seeing him run, and then eventually someone's going to pull the trigger, and that's going to be me in this draft. I don't love him. I don't hate him. I think he'll be good a couple weeks in. But I think this is a solid pick in the 11th round. I might tell me that it was a reach. It might tell me that it was a steal. I have no idea where he's going to go. So maybe that was a complete and utter steal. But hey, you never know. So now it's time to look back at the draft board, and we see Zach Moss come off the board after our pick, who I love, followed by Jared Cook, Josh Allen, Carson Wentz, Antonio Gibson, Hunter Henry, and Darren Waller. So we did get a bit fucked in the ass right there, because 2 teams took backup quarterbacks before we took our starter, but it's okay. I'm not going to be too upset drafting Drew Brees or Tom Brady here. So here, we're going to have to draft a quarterback. We're just going to have to, because some asshole may take another backup quarterback, and we're going to be screwed. So it's between Breeze and Brady. Close your eyes, pick one of them. I think both of them are going to be very good. The real question is, will I be able to actually click on one of them on the screen? So I'm going to open my eyes. We're going to go eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a tiger by the toe. If he hollers, let him go. Tampa Bay, Tom Brady. That's who we're going to go with here. I have him ranked 1 ahead of Breeze, I think. Actually, I think I have Breeze ranked ahead. Doesn't really matter to me. Both in the same tier. I'll go with Drew Brees this year of the New Orleans Saints. Think he's going to have a good year. Think if Kamara's gone, don't think it'll be as good of a year, but I think it could be good. And we have Drew Brees and Kamara, so pretty much anytime the Saints scores, we're going to score, because he's either going to hand it to Kamara, throw it to Kamara, or throw it to Michael Thomas. That's the only way they're going to be scoring, except for Jared Cook, obviously, who's just going to be wide open in the end zone a bunch of times and score a bunch of touchdowns and rise his fantasy value. So after we went Drew Brees, John Brown came off the board, followed by Phillip Lindsay, Evan Ingram, Latavius Murray, Brandon Cooks, and Matthew Stafford. So we already have a tight end. We're not taking a backup one. We don't need a backup quarterback. So we're just going to snag another late-round wide receiver. And we're going to go with Deebo Samuel here at pick number 100 overall. Now, I understand he's hurt. I understand he might miss a couple of games, but the value's supreme when I don't even need to play him. And unless half my team goes down week 1 or in training camp or something, knock on wood, I don't need anything to do with Deebo until a bunch of weeks in anyway. So after we went ahead and drafted Deebo, Tevin Coleman came off the board, followed by Tariq Cohen, Hayden Hurst, my favorite late-round tight end, a defense, a running back, Adrian Peterson, then a bunch of defenses. So first, we're going to go with our kicker and get my main man, Harrison Butker, the fucker of the Kansas City Chiefs, or Justin Tucker, the fucker. Both great kickers for fantasy football. If you want my kicker rankings, I made a video about it. It somehow has over 1,000 views. Huge applause to you guys for watching a kicker video. Now we need to get a defense, and we're targeting defenses playing shitty opponents week 1. And we're going to go ahead and snag the Chargers playing up against my boy, Tyler Boyd and the Bengals week 1. Now, I don't think the Bengals offense is shit. I just think Joe Burrow may struggle in his first game up against a very good defense. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Chargers there. But week 2, they have a harder matchup. So I'm going to go ahead and give them the cutaroo, throw them out, and then pick up a new defense based on the videos that I'm going to be dropping on a weekly basis telling you who to start at defense. So we got an A grade on this team. I'm going to recap the team real quick, and then we're going to get out of here, and I will let you guys out. I'll open the door for you. I'll take your coat. I'll put it on you. Maybe I'll even tie your shoes for you, and you can head out the door. So I got 93 out of 100, but in my opinion, this is a 100 team. We keep it 100. Keep it 300 like the Romans, 300 bitches. We're the Trojans. Shout out to Kanye. So our quarterback is Drew Brees. Our running backs are Alvin Kamara and Austin Eckler. Our wide receiver is Robert Woods. Our other wide receiver is Calvin Ridley. Our tight end is Mark Andrews. Our flex is Miles Sanders. Our defense is the Chargers. Our kicker is Harrison Butker, the fucker. Our bench is comprised of Le'Veon Bell, Devontae Parker, Tyler Boyd, James White, Leonard Fournette, and Deebo Samuel. So thank you guys all for watching this video. If you did end up enjoying, please make sure to assault the fucking subscribe button down below. Smack that shit, and please click that subscribe button. Make sure to check out Manscaped. Code Notorious at checkout for 20% off, as well as free shipping. Check out the draft guide as well if you guys need some extra help. I always answer questions on there. I love you all. Have a great rest of your guys' day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with yet another banger of a video. Good boy!